All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Wine, Women, and Words. I am Michelle, and with me, of course, is Diana.
Hello.
And it is our Author of the Month episode. So tonight we are joined by Wendy Corsi Staub. I always forget to ask.
Yeah, that's okay. No, that's right. It's Staub, like house.
Okay. Excellent. Oh,
Good job.
thank you. My German is paying off right now. You are the author of our August book of the month, Little Girl Lost.
Thank you so much.
I'm pretty sure, I actually don't want to flip through it too much. I'm pretty sure there's still sand in here from the Outer Banks because it went back and forth to the beach every day for a week when we were out there with the family.
Oh, nice.
So it's a loved copy.
Oh, I love a little sand in a book.
It's like, you go for a week, but then you find sand for like a month when you get back.
Yep.
So, and this will obviously we do the audio only version, but I'm going to apologize in advance to anyone who is watching if I am fidgeting or it looks like I'm bouncing back and forth because we've had a round of sickness go through the house. Any parents listening, watching, did not know that adults can get hand, foot, and mouth from their toddlers, but you can. And the bonus for parents who catch hand, foot, and mouth is it's itchy on your hands and your feet.
Oh.
It's like chicken pox. But
toddlers are the worst. They're like little tyrants, and they're like patient zero. Toddlers are the worst. I miss mine being toddlers.
I mean, I love this age, and it's so much fun. But Landon, he got sick on Friday. He spiked a fever, and you go through like, and then he started getting like some spots around his mouth, and there's it's just a heat rash. It's been really hot here, so it's just a heat rash. And then the fever doesn't go away. And it's like, well, maybe it's an ear infection. He seems to be pulling at his ears a lot. God. And then Sunday night, I looked at his feet and I was like, oh no. And then I got sick. And I just thought that he brought home like a virus from the doctor's office. And then I woke up the other morning with white spots in my throat. And when I was a kid, I was like the queen of strep throat. Mm-hmm. Like, you could say strep and I would catch it. So I thought, oh my God, I got strep on top of whatever virus this is. So I went to the doctor and the doctor was like, oh, you have hand, foot, and mouth.
Oh my God.
So when my throat gets better, I'm like just going to open a bottle of wine and stick a straw in it.
Yep.
You totally deserve that. I've been hearing all of the updates, and I'm like, you know what? When it's time for me to adopt, I think I'm going to adopt like 5 and up. And
5 is the cutoff for hand, foot, and mouth. I've been like WebMDing this like crazy, but it is most common among toddlers under 5 years old.
The more I hear from my friends who have kids, I'm like, the age of what age I want to adopt just keeps going up and up and up. So I think by the time we actually adopt, I'm going to adopt like a 16-year-old. So I only have to deal with them for 2 years.
It's like the timeshare of childhood.
Yeah, talk about pre-assembly. You're like truly pre-assembled.
But then you'll be just in time to pay for college. So
yeah, there's that.
Yeah, it's tough.
But then you can like put like the musically inclined, or you can pick and choose the scholarships.
The kid's gonna come to me with a resume.
interviewing them for adoption like I would for a job.
So, how long have you been playing the piano?
And how good at math are you?
Since I cannot drink alcohol, Wendy has been kind enough to step in for me.
I have 2 glasses of wine.
She is a writer after my own heart. I mean, when she said she had 2 just before we started, I was like, I love you already. She is truly drinking for Michelle. And I really appreciate your effort, Wendy. And
Come on for the team.
yeah.
You can count on me. I'm a red girl and a white girl. I don't have a rosé, but that was last night, so I don't want to look at rosé tonight.
We've had a lot of rosés on the show lately, so it's okay. What kinds are you drinking? You mentioned you have a red and a white?
Yeah, I have a cab, and I have a Pinot Grigio. So started off with this was from dinner, leftover from dinner, so I was finishing it off. I never pour wine out, so I thought I'd go light and coast on into bedtime. So.
There you go. And I love how you represent with both types. Because, I mean, you're obviously an equal opportunity alcoholic, just like us.
Yeah. My only regret is no pink, like I said. But I was out last night with my editor and a couple of friends. We were all editors together. So we did go through, we had, I think, 2 bottles of rosé. There were 4 of us for dinner. So I was like, oh, this one.
Yeah, I don't blame you on that. And rosé is the wine of the summer.
It is. It goes down so easily. So hot, too. In New York, too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, do you remember when you could like go out and drink like crazy and then wake up at like 5 o'clock in the morning the next day and be totally fine?
Yep. Remember? Yes.
And now like a wine hangover lasts like 3 days.
I know.
Well, it doesn't last that long for me, thank God, so far, knock on wood. But yeah, my hangovers suck now that I'm older. They really suck.
Yeah, I think red. A red hangover is worse. That's why I'm going over to the light side.
But it's funny that we can differentiate between a red hangover and a white hangover and a rosé hangover.
It's called being studious. That's what I'm going for.
And observant.
Exactly. And I love the Pinot Grigio, and I'm going to see that Pinot Grigio, and I'm going to go with, I'm finishing this Wicker, and it's a blend of, it's a Riesling and a Gewürztraminer.
And a what?
Let's see if I can pronounce this again. I can only do it once every few days. It's a Gewürztraminer. Okay, I'll try this again. Gewürztraminer.
Ooh.
Yes.
Say it fast. It like blends into like nothing.
Exactly. And like the Pinot Grigio, it hails from the Alsace region of France. And I really like this one because I find straight up Gewürztraminers to be too sweet for me because I'm not a sweet wine fan at all.
So that's interesting.
Yeah, so it's 80% Gewürztraminer and 20% Riesling. So that Riesling kind of mellows out that sweetness and gives it a nice crisp taste.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying that. So if any of you out there want to drink along with us and drink for Michelle because she is taking substitute drinkers for her, go to Wink, go to our special link, which is trywink.com/www podcast, and you can get $22 off your first order of wine. And you can try the Gewürztraminer and try to pronounce it as well. And I'm so proud of myself I can say it now. And I'm probably butchering it. And somebody out there listening is probably like, oh my God, she's saying it horribly. And she thinks
You're saying it wrong.
You're probably screaming.
It's not me. I'm not saying that. I'm impressed. I'm impressed.
Zwicker is the name of the label. You can try that at Wink. So again, it's trywink.com/www podcast.
So we've covered random Amazonian illnesses that your child brings home. We've covered wine.
Yes.
So now we get to start talking about the book.
Mm-hmm.
So, but actually, can we pause for a minute? Because when I sat down to prepare my questions and I'm, reading through your website and slightly cyber stalking you in the best possible way.
What I've been doing online lately. Got pictures, I'm safe.
I was looking through all the books, and you've written over 90 books. So that's a 90. Like, and I'm working on one over the past 3 years.
But you have toddlers. I do not have toddlers.
So what is, before we get into Little Girl Lost, but can you talk a little bit about your writing process and how, 90 books, that's
impressive. That's crazy impressive.
I'm crazy old now. So when you really spread it out over, I've been doing this. I sold my first book in 1992. So I am old. So when you spread them out over the years, it's, it's not like I wrote 90 books last year, but they're not all adult suspense length. They're not all 110,000 words. Some of them were young adult and they were a little bit shorter, and some were series books, and some were ghostwritten. So yeah, there were different genres. So it's, some were quicker to write than others.
Well, even if that's a book a year,
right?
You're not 100 years old. I know
it's getting so much harder.
but it's still that's quite. As I'm obviously oh my gosh, trying to find the words as I stumble over them. It's quite an achievement. To being able to have the discipline, because so many people can't even get the first one out.
Yeah, it's all about discipline, really. And, like I said, it does get harder. I've slowed down a lot. I still work really long days, but it was always about, I am so lucky to be doing what I'm doing, and I don't want it to go away. So I'll just do whatever it takes to make it keep happening. It was like paranoia, and I love it. I was going to say past tense loved it, but I still love it. I've always been a fast writer too. I do everything fast. I speak quickly. I move quickly. That's why I'm always bruised and falling down. Not the wine. It's the rush. I'm always in a hurry. But yeah, I've always been a quick writer, and I think that helped me early on. I was really prolific early in the career. So I learned to just pace myself and just keep myself on task.
So do you have a specific routine that you do for when you write? Do you have an outline, or do you just go with it for the first draft?
I'm a pantser. Yeah, no, I've worked from outlines when absolutely necessary, but I really prefer to sort of wing it. And I know where I'm going in general because I'm writing suspense, and you kind of have to know, you know who the bad guy is, and why, and that kind of thing. But I don't have a meticulous page by page outline. I just get my butt into the chair in the morning as early as possible. And I've always, I do get up really early. I naturally sort of wake up at 4:30 or 5. And when my kids were young, I trained myself, after that wee hour feeding, I trained myself to write, just go and write then, so that's how I sort of found those hours early in the morning. And I was really able to be productive then. So I still try to do that.
That's what I do.
Oh, let's see.
Now that makes me, that gives me hope that I'm doing something. But Diana's a night owl, and she can write at night. But at the end of the day, I even if it's an article for the paper, or if it's school, because I'm getting my master's degree right now. If it's school, or if it's my writing, I can't write at night. I don't know how you do it, Diana, because I can't.
I don't know how you do early mornings. I think y'all are nuts for doing early mornings. I'm a night. I don't on the weekends. I naturally wake up around 8 a.m. and I'll be writing, and I'll sit down and write and do that work in the morning. But when it comes to me, I feel like I'm not as creative in the morning as I am at night, where I have actually, no lie, no exaggeration, I have written until like 3 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
Yeah, there are times where I've actually literally fallen asleep at my computer.
I was you're tired.
I've always been the kind of person who I prefer nighttime. That's when I come awake at night. If I could have a job where I could work nights, for the most part, I probably would go that route.
That's interesting. It proves that, there's no right way.
Mm-hmm.
Because people will always ask, like, how do you do it? You do it the way that it works for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we all have like those bursts of creativity. Mine are hardly ever at night. Like other end of the clock. Like I can write at 3 a.m. if I just got up, but not if I'm up at the other end of a day. Like I'm so impressed when people
That's usually when I'm going to sleep. If I have my way, it's naturally for work. I'll go to sleep around 11 o'clock at night. But if I'm left to my own devices, midnight, 1 a.m. is my normal downtime.
Wow. That's really interesting.
Well, and you write a lot of trilogies too, which is interesting. So you have a lot of standalone stories as well, but you have in your thrillers, I think I saw 4, or this is your 4th trilogy or 5th?
I think it's 5th for Harper. I'm trying to think. I think it is. Yeah. And they love, my editor loves a trilogy. So she always wants me to go that route. And I always listen because they know what they're talking about. The publisher is really like, if that's what they want, that's what I will do. But yeah, it's challenging. I think it's more challenging. I think that's why when I say, I'm slowing down, it's more complex to plot out 3 books and keep it all straight and over the course of writing them. And people are reading them while you're still writing the next one. And you have to, just sort of keep in mind, like it's out there. I can't change what I already did.
Mm-hmm.
So it's complex. And that's why it takes me longer.
And I also noticed that you also have another name that you write under. So you've got the Wendy Corsi Staub. Did I pronounce it as well as I did Gewürztraminer?
Wendy Corsi Staub. Good.
Yeah. And then you have Wendy, it's Markham?
Markham. My husband's name is Mark. So yeah, that's my light side. That's the women's fiction. I haven't written a Wendy Markham book in a few years now, actually. But yeah, I branded myself under that name when I started writing chick lit and just really lighter stuff about 15, 20 years ago now.
So what was the logic behind that? Because I'm really fascinated by the fact that you've got the 2 different pen names.
Well, I have a background. I was in publishing for a little bit, but I was also in advertising, and that's where I met my husband. He's an advertising guy. So we were all about the brand and building a brand. And when you have had a few books out and people are reading them and you found some success and they know what to expect from your books, you don't want to throw them a curve. Like, I don't want my loyal readers to pick up a book and be like, this is not what I signed up for. Like, this isn't what she writes. So that's why I didn't want to confuse them. And frankly, I was asked to write the first chick lit that I did. It was right around the time that Bridget Jones came out, and I hadn't read it, but the publisher came to my agent and they said, try your hand at writing something like this. And I was like, I just thought it would fail miserably, so I just put his name on it. Really, I want to muddy my name.
I like your logic. Not only do you drink 2 glasses of wine, come prepared with 2 glasses of wine, you've got the dark and the light. There we go. It's for each of the personas. I love it. I love the way you think.
Yeah.
And just in case, then it was like a safety net almost.
It It wasn't. I never expected that to be more than one book. I've also, my kids are Morgan. My son is, my older son is Morgan, and my younger son is Brody. So I've also written as Wendy Morgan and Wendy Brody. Like I've used those pseudonyms too over the years. So it's like, yeah, like get the family involved. But those were also just branding different genres.
That's really interesting. I don't think I've ever thought about it that way, but that's a clever little tool to have.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you can, if it did fail miserably, like it wouldn't be me, right?
Like, who's that person? I don't know who that is.
Yeah, we have a similar name, but totally not me.
Totally not me.
Yeah.
Unless she's getting a royalty check.
You know? Then that's me. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I'll hold it for her.
Exactly. It's funny.
Follow your wine, don't spit it out, Diana.
What?
I said, swallow your wine, don't spit it out.
No, I'm a good girl.
And I'm on to the mic.
And you mentioned a couple minutes ago that writing a trilogy is more challenging. Do you always do you always have like the full story arc of the trilogy in mind when you start, or does it kind of evolve?
In this case, I definitely had it in mind. Like I know where I'm going, because I know where I've been, because this sort of is fluid in time, right? Mm-hmm. We go back and forth. So we're going back. It starts in 1968, and then we're in 1987. The new book is 1990 and 2016. So I'm back and forth in time. So I have to know where they've been, because I'm eventually going to get there. It's sort of like, for me, it's like a big picture that I'm going to paint for you, I guess. And it's being painted in little increments. Does that make sense at all? Like, I know where I'm going, but I don't know, you know, there are smaller plot points that I'm exploring as I go, and things sort of pop up, and I'm like, oh, that works for this book. Yeah.
So now, Little Girl Lost has a lot of different storylines and characters that will eventually, as the people read, like come together. But it really focuses on Amelia, who discovers that her parents aren't actually her parents. They found her as a baby, abandoned. And that I actually didn't realize that foundlings was the actual term for babies.
Yep.
Like that in that situation. Yeah. What made you decide to write about foundlings?
That's a really good question. And yeah, I had never heard the term foundling until, I don't know, a few years ago. And I brought this to Harper as an idea. You know, it's going to be a trilogy about foundlings, because whenever you have an abandoned baby or abandoned child, there's always going to be a story there that is, you know, it's poignant, it's dramatic, something happened that caused this baby to be left, or this child to be left. So for me, that was just, you know, it was a given that this would make a really good suspense series. But my great grandfather, I found out, my mom's grandfather was a foundling, and I had never known that, or maybe I knew, and it was sort of like, it wasn't, I don't know. I latched onto this a few years ago. I found out after my mom had passed away, and my aunts were talking about it. But it turns out he was left on a doorstep in Sicily. I'm Italian, and in Sicily in the 1800s. And he went on to, you know, he and my great grandmother had 13 children, really, you know, rich, full life. They were farmers. They came here, obviously. And so he lived his whole life out, never knowing who had left him or who he was. And I decided, you know, I never met him. He died way before I was born. But I decided to see if I could figure it out. I did DNA. I did a DNA sample on Ancestry.com, and I had been doing the family tree and everything. And so I wanted to see if I could get a match or just try to solve this mystery in my own family. And it just led to this fascination with, you know, genetic, with genealogy and with DNA. And investigative genealogy, and that's where Amelia came from, because that's what she becomes. And that's not a spoiler to say that she will grow up to be somebody who helps other people find their birth parents using DNA and the internet. And so it was fascinating to me.
It's really cool how far that technology is coming. In fact, there's a special on 2020 that I need to watch. And I thought of the book when it came on. And it's about these foundlings. And they used to investigate.
Really?
Yeah, it's on there. And what's interesting is that there are 3 different people, and it starts off with the one sister, and I only got as far as the one sister, and they do the investigative genealogy, and they use the DNA samples, and they discover she has a brother. And then they'd also discover that she's got a sister as well. And all 3 of them were abandoned in the same area as she was. And, all picked up at different times. And so they're investigating, why did they get abandoned? And the whole finding of it, I was like, oh my gosh, I've got to watch this. It's like a real life Little Lost Girl, except, there's no random murderer.
I have to throw that in, because that's what my editor said. She's like, you do write suspense, so you gotta, like, where's your suspense plot? What she said was, she said, Charles Manson had children who, when he was arrested, the children, they grew up not knowing that Charles Manson was their real father. I mean, they're out there somewhere, obviously. I mean, he had lots of children. So that was where that came from. I was like, oh my God, imagine, like, you're searching for this long lost parent and you find out it's somebody that you wouldn't necessarily want. And that's not a spoiler. Again, it's not, that was just the kernel.
We should say, we forgot to do it earlier. It's okay that these are not spoilers, but there are spoilers. We will be discussing spoilers.
Yes, and I will not reveal.
But from this point on in the show, we will be discussing spoilers. So you have been warned. We will give you approximately 10 to 15 seconds to switch off.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah, you can pause it, finish reading the book, start reading the book, and then come back and join us.
Okay, that works for me. That's good.
But yeah, I can imagine, that had to play such a role in Amelia's journey in doing this search, because I can only imagine, finding out that your parent is that way, and then you have that inward debate, is it nature versus nurture?
Right. Love that.
Yeah.
And then, but not only finding out that your parents aren't your parents, finding out that your mother isn't your mother the day that your mother dies.
So she has a double loss. And yeah,
So,
I thought that was, I was trying to figure out how she would find out. And I thought that would be logical, because her mother was, her adoptive mother would never tell her. Well, she didn't want her to know, clearly. But I just thought how awful. And I wanted to show, like, she's kind of selfish. She's young, but I think she has a lot of growing to do, and she's in a really bad place, because that kind of loss is not something you're just going to bounce back from immediately. So I really wanted to explore this character, and she's really flawed. She's flawed, and she has so much to resolve, and that's important for the future.
and there's a lot of like double losses or double grieves, especially with the characters from the very, very beginning, because not only then Amelia has that double loss, but then her father has the double loss of losing his wife, and then also losing his daughter, in a sense, because now she, hates him
And resents and doesn't trust that what they're telling her is even true. And it didn't occur to me as I was writing it, that was a second, like a secondary realization that, wait a minute, she wouldn't just take them at their word then. Like, if someone said they found you when you're an infant in a church, why would I necessarily believe that if you've lied my whole life? Like, is that really what happened? So I had to realize that she would have such a level of mistrust for these people that raised her. Well, for her father, he's the one who's left. But to me, that became really dramatic, more so than I, psychologically, when you delve in, it just became so much more complex than I even realized.
Absolutely. And it's, and I love it with, mysteries aren't always just, or at least I love the mysteries that aren't always just the mysteries of the whodunit. You've got these other tensions and things playing in the background, this loss, this finding out who your father really is, and not being necessarily that you would hope they would be. Because even still, if you find out that your parents aren't your biological parents, you're going to hope that the person who did abandon you wasn't that bad of a person who just made a mistake, kind of deal. And then you find out, hey, it's
right, good person.
Yeah, so getting into the psychology in those mysteries, I love that. And I think that's what makes a good mystery, is having that psychology behind it. And reading our questions and going on with some of our other topics. Yes, it was Michelle in one of our previous episodes that we discussed this. Because I loved her questions, because we sent each other the questions before the show. And the way she worded this question was, in one of our earlier episodes, or was it in a text conversation? That's like almost, for a podcaster, that's like the equivalent of, did I tell you that or did I dream it? No, we did discuss this in a previous episode, and I love that you listed this as one of our questions. We were talking about how the novel's set in the past, the 60s and the 80s, but technically it's not considered traditionally historical fiction, because really historical fiction takes place pre-1960s, which to that I say, being a historical fiction writer myself, I say poo on that, because I feel, in my opinion, that anything that happens, 20 years ago or so, and it would be considered, I consider historical fiction. And I am dating myself. I am almost 40 here.
Gotcha me.
Well, we have established you're not that old. You're just a really great writer. But, anything that's set, in the past, where the past plays a significant role, in my opinion, should be considered historical fiction. And given the fact that the 80s and the 60s were such an important, element to the story, that you can't necessarily tell the story without setting it in those eras, what research did you go into to make that authentic?
I just want to say,
as I try to get these words out,
authenticism. I want to say thank you for understanding that and grasping that, because this story had to be told the way it's being told. And I thought, and not just because it's multi-generational. Well, not multi-generational. We follow the same characters over the course of, half a lifetime. We will anyway. But I immersed myself, and the research, I moved to New York in 1987 or 86, but right around the time it was set. So the things I thought I remembered about it, I had to constantly fact check myself. And it was just very time consuming, but really interesting. I could lose myself for a day just trying to look up, what color Benetton sweater was popular in October of, and you just do, you get into these details and music. And I lost almost 50,000 words of this novel. We cut so much of it. And a lot of it was narrative that was, it was just a little bit deeper into the history, and it might have slowed down the pacing. Well, it did slow down the pacing, but I think it was because this was real to me, and I really wanted to frame it in a very real time. So yeah, I lived.
Well, plus, especially in the 60s and the 80s were, a lot was going on in New York, especially during those decades, that you couldn't just this probably sounds right,
Right. No, I liked, and I used real people, and I sort of mixed them in with, my fictional characters. So that was really interesting. The Kennedys are in there. Just, if you're framing something in history to make it feel authentic, you really have to understand, in the context of the time. This is about setting, and this is about the setting as a character here, I guess, and not just place, but era. So that was so important to me.
And speaking of
I love that
characters,
you said that. Like,
sometimes we need to like raise our hands. I feel like.
totally. Totally. We try so hard not to talk over each other, but also at the same time, we have these questions that we just have to get out. And Michelle and I sometimes get into each other's heads. We're like those married couples who don't need to actually converse. We can just think it, and then we just start asking the question at the same time. So anyway, getting back to the point that I was about to make, you know, I love that you said that the setting was as much of a character as the characters. So many, I think, young authors or inexperienced authors neglect the setting. Is that something, setting is something I'm assuming is important to you throughout all of your books?
Yes. Yes. And I've linked books by setting because I write about ordinary people. They're not cops. Well, no, I have a cop. I do have a cop here. He's a detective. But in general, I write about people who are doing what they're supposed to be doing on any given day, and they're in the wrong place at the wrong time, or somehow they find themselves in danger, right? So it's really not that believable that that would happen to an ordinary person 3 times if you're writing a trilogy. So yeah, setting has become very important to me. In this case, it's about the time and the place, but I just did a trilogy for Harper where we had a town that was famous for some really bloody true crimes that bloody crimes that happened there, and I thought, well, that would draw violence. That would be believable that people would come back to this place, and because it's known for that. So yeah, I've always, and I grew up in a small town. I lived in New York, in the city in my younger years, and now I live in the suburbs. So I've lived like all different sort of the places that I write about. Like I've lived in a city, I've lived in a small town, I've lived in the suburb where you feel safe and nobody locks their doors, whatever. So I always like to capture that. I think that speaks to me. Writing what I know.
So what I was trying to say.
Sorry.
No. One of the characters that I loved was Marceline.
Oh yeah.
And I'm curious, how long did it take you to figure out how to spell how she spoke?
God. Well, I don't know if you read the ARC or did you read the ARC or the finished book?
The uncorrected proof.
Then you have, before they made me take that all out.
Oh no.
They're worried. Yeah, they're worried. They were worried that it would be perceived, sort of as some kind of an insult. It was, she's a Gullah character. And I spent a lot of time down researching that in the on St. Helena Island and down along the coastal islands, Low Country. So I really wanted to capture the culture and this character, like because we're gonna see her again. Like she plays a key role. I think that's not giving anything away by saying, she's not gone. Marceline. But I wanted to capture the dialect because it's very rich in these. There are really cool Gullah words, like day clean is one of them, and I used that, and buckrabiddle. So they have their own language, and I just wanted to sprinkle it in for authenticity, but we took out, anything that was, it was edited to be cautious. Before it went to print.
Because when you read it, I can't do accents to save my life.
Yeah, me either.
Or voices or anything like that. But when you read it, I could hear it in my head how it would sound.
Yeah, that was important to me. But I erred on the side of caution when they wanted to take it out. I thought it was a good decision because I didn't want any controversy or for it to be perceived as anything other than what it was. And I just thought, I understand. So, but for me writing it, it was very helpful because I could hear her in my head. And I actually just listened to the audiobook, and the narrator, I should know her name off the top of my head. She did a fantastic job, but she was Marceline. It was amazing. Like she you know, it was just the way it should have been. So I hope that when the finished book came out without some of the as much of the dialect, I mean, there's a little bit intact. I hope that that voice is still as strong as I wanted it to be.
How does it feel when you hear the audiobook? How does it feel when you hear the narrator like nail the characters' voices, how you pictured them?
That was great. It was fun, and it's funny because my son Brody is he has a little cameo in there. He helped me with some research, and he's in Ithaca. And I named a character Brody, and I said to him, I'm like, actually, you have a character. It's really cool. Yeah, and my other son just walked in the door and oh, good morning. So yeah, that was really cool. I was like, hey, you have a character, and Amelia sounds like she should sound, and Stockton Barnes, my guy, like, yeah, it was great to hear him come alive. She did a great job.
We love audiobooks here.
You did good.
Yes, we are audiobook fans. In fact, if anybody is interested and they want to sign up for Audible and get their own copy of Little Girl Lost, go to our website, winewomenandwordspodcast.com, and under our bookstore, you can buy a copy of the book, or we also have a link to Audible where you click on that, sign up for Audible through our link on our website, and you can get 2 free books. So you can get Wendy's book and then our next book of the month, which I'm just going to assume because it's already out, that it's going to be an audiobook. So you can like get August and September's book and be completely up to date.
Dang, look at that segue. Well played.
Yay. Well, I am an Audible. I have already done that, and I get my book every month. And so, yeah, I can vouch for that. Do it.
I love Audible, and I'm at the point now where I'll buy multiple books.
Yeah, me too.
Month, and then, yeah,
yep,
if we have one of their deals of the day.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Exactly. Like you have your credit to use that, and then I'm like, oh, I'll just browse, and yeah, I go through it faster than, yeah, it's great. And there's something about, well, I have a bad back as a writer. I have a terrible back, so I swim laps every day, and I read books while I swim. So I swim
awesome.
A book on this my little device. So yeah, so for me, it's like killing 2 birds, 2 pleasures with one stone. Like I get to do.
Yeah, I listen to my audiobooks while I'm working. If I'm by myself in my office, I'll listen to an audiobook instead of actually listening to the radio, or I'll listen to it on the way home. And like right now, I'm listening to Sing, Unbird Sing.
Oh.
The narrators in that are so brilliant. The mother, the way she sounds so fragile, and she's a drug addict. So by the sound of her voice, I have got this clear picture of the character, and it's so lovely. And then because it was on sale, we had Stephen Kiernan on earlier in the month for The Baker's Secret, and Audible had it on sale for $6. And I was like, ooh, I've got $6 to spare in my checking account. And so I went ahead and I picked up the audiobook for that.
Oh, awesome.
So that's going to be next. So yeah, I love it. It helps my book addiction.
Me too. I always feel like someone's reading to me. It's like so indulgent. Like it just feels, love it.
I do. I love it too. It's so great. And guys, you got to check it out. And people forget that writers are also book lovers too. We're all within this one big audience.
Territory.
We're just sharing each other's books around. That's all we're doing.
Diana and I had a conversation today of books that we want, and I told her, I said, I'm trying not to buy books right now. I have so many books that I haven't read yet. Like I really am, and I am trying so hard. My husband is in the next room, so I hope he hears this. I am trying so hard not to buy more books, even though there's like my phone, half of the memory is probably screenshots of books that I want to buy.
What? Yes. I scribble titles down everywhere. And like now I'm making note of.
So Diane and I just started texting like titles back and forth, like, oh, what about this one and this one? Why? Why are we doing this to ourselves?
No. Well, I really, really want to read the spell book of Katarina Van something or other. Yeah, Van Tassel. Yeah, and it's coming out. It's either out now or it's coming out soon. And it looks really great. And through NetGalley, because I do book reviews, I can get books through NetGalley that aren't automatically offered to me. And I put in a request for it, and I got denied. And I was like, no, I really want to read this book. And one of my other writers that's on the on my blog with me, she got approved for the book, but I didn't. And I was like, oh, this just makes it even worse. I think I'm going to have to buy this book.
So shifting back just momentarily, at least. Now, since you write in so many different genres, do you have like a pattern where you go, okay, we're going to write this genre now and then this genre next, or is it just however the ideas come to you?
Yeah, you know, I mean, I always only write one thing at a time. I'm a good multitasker, not that good, because I really need to live in that world, and I'm world building really. So you have to, I have to focus. But I haven't written another genre in now about a year, I think it was. I write traditional mysteries as well. So I have this Lily Dale mystery series, and the last one came out last December. So it's been over a year now. So yeah, those are lighter. I think I'm a darker person when I'm in the, in the psychological suspense world. I am immersed usually in that kind of thing. Like I lean toward that too in my TV viewing, or just like I read a lot of nonfiction, creepy stuff. I probably have something on my desk that I can show you that's creepy. But yeah, so you go there. And then after a while, you start to think of the light side. And I had a meeting with my agent yesterday, my film agent, she's like, how about a comedy? Don't you miss writing comedy? It's been a while. And I was thinking, yeah, I missed that sort of genre break.
Maybe you could do a dark comedy.
Well, that's what we were talking about. That's so funny. Yeah, that's what we were talking about. We were and I was like, oh, remember, even 6 Feet Under, I loved it. It had it was really dark, and it wasn't comedic, but I was like, it doesn't always have to be so heavy. Because she was talking about The Handmaid's Tale, which I haven't seen, but she's like, it's really dark.
Yeah, I love the first season, and I love the book, but I haven't been able to keep up with the season just because it's so dark. I can't do it. And the stuff that I write, even though it's historical fiction, it's kind of dark, and I'm shopping now, and then I'm writing my second book, and that one's even darker than my first book, and I'm like, I can't handle it. I gotta watch comedies while I'm writing this. I can't stay in that world. Do you find that you have that problem too sometimes when you're writing the dark stuff? You gotta have a little bit of comedy to help.
Yeah, and we're actually watching Marvelous Mrs. Maisel right now.
Oh my god, I love that series so much.
Yeah, it's great, because I was like, I need to get out of this dark place. I said that to my husband about 2 weeks ago. I was like, I just need something light. Give me light. So yeah, even though I'm writing dark, I'm watching light.
Well, you have to balance, otherwise it's too much dark.
Yeah.
Otherwise you end up like the horse in Never Ending Story.
Yeah.
No, why would you bring that horse up?
Well, it's true. I mean, too much dark and too much sadness, you'll end up like the horse. I know. The poor horse. I think I'm more traumatized now as an adult by that movie than I was as a kid.
I never liked that movie as a kid, only because I thought, when I was little, I was super homesick, and I didn't I didn't even like spending the night at slumber parties away from my parents.
I was like that.
So, the Never Ending Story, I mean, it didn't click that it wasn't the little boy who was reading the story wasn't the little boy who was taking the journey. So in my mind, he was leaving his dad. And I'm like, nope, not okay.
No.
And then the horse dies.
Apparently, I'm the weird one in this situation, because as a kid, I was like, peace out, yo. There's no way that my mother could keep me near her. I was just like, I'm gone. I gotta go explore. There are things to see. Yeah.
I read about all those things.
I started out as one and became the other. Like I wanted to be with them and I couldn't sleep over. And then all of a sudden I was like moving to New York. Bye. You know, it's just like a switch. It's so funny. But yeah, they used to have to come and get me from my friend's house across the street at night when I would sleep over. Because the house didn't like sound right. It was just like, you know, wrong shadows, you know.
Oh yeah, at slumber parties, like if it was someone's birthday party, they would drop me off and then like go have dinner and see a movie and then pick me up before everyone went to bed.
That's bad, yeah.
So I would go. I just wouldn't spend the night.
Well, that was the weird one where I was just like, yeah, I'll see you sometime when I see you. That's cool. New house, new stuff, new cabinets. What?
That's easier on the parents too. I mean, on your parents.
I am kind of excited for, I mean, I'll probably cry, but I'm kind of excited for the first sleepover that they go to. They probably won't go to the same one, but
yeah.
But for that first night of, oh my God.
You're not going to cry. You're going to be like, oh my God, I have a quiet evening where I can read books. I can catch up on all these.
Yep.
Keep talking about all the wine I want to drink. You're going to be like, more sleepovers, please? Yes?
You will be good.
You're going to be just fine.
Probably.
No hand, foot, mouth disease. It'll be all.
Think of all these positive things.
I look like I'm like hatching an evil plan because
you're itching.
But it's like,
oh, I'm sorry.
I mean, at least I got a tan at the beach, so it doesn't look as bad as if I were like pasty white with these things.
Oh no. Oh.
But I mean, it could be a lot worse. When I was WebMDing this, it was brutal. So I'm really grateful. Hopefully, I've been waking up every morning going, oh my God, I have to look in the mirror. I don't want to see. But so far.
It's not bad. You look good.
Yeah.
Thank you. Diana texted me at like 8:45 my time going, I did tell you that we're going on at 7 today, right? Like, I'll be right back. Go on, draw my eyebrows on really quick at least so I don't look terrifying. This is why we primarily do audio. We push the audio more.
We do. I mean, we sound so much better than we look.
No, we don't.
When I said that, I was like, wow, that came out really self-deprecating. I really don't mean it that way. I'm much more narcissistic.
Well, we are approaching our hour, which is really weird because that went by super fast.
It did. It was really fun.
And I know
by now, so I'm really pleased that like I stayed awake and it was fun.
Yes.
Yes.
So
it was
thank
so
you
great talking
so
with
much. Oh, sorry. See again. Ugh, we're out of sync this week.
That's not even the wine with you, Michelle.
No, and you're the one doing 2 glasses, so Diana can't use that.
I'll sleep well.
Well, it's because you're not drinking. That's why.
Probably. True story.
Yeah, you're the sober one. I'm not. This is why we're not on the same wavelength tonight.
Next week we'll be back.
Okay, we better.
I know. My publicist told me, she's like, so you have to have wine. Like, you know, I'm like, mandatory wine is like, why can't you find me more of these gigs? I love these.
Publicist is great. Yeah, I love it where she's like, wine is mandatory.
Yep.
Dr. Train.
Yeah. Good.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time up to speak with us. We had so much fun chatting with you.
With you guys too. Thank you for having Little Girl Lost. That means so much to me. Like you guys and having me on here. But thanks for reading, and you know, I'm working on the next one. So we didn't go to the spoilers. I'm really pleased because a little wine and I start telling secrets.
Let's save that for the next one.
Wait, what was that?
Also, we'll save it for the next one for when
We'll save it for the next one.
Yeah.
I'll be back.
Yeah.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you so much. And everybody else, to get ready for September, start reading Another Side of Paradise. That is our September book of the month. Yay. And we're going to do another giveaway too, because we did a giveaway for Wendy's book at the beginning of this month. And on Saturday, we're going to do a Labor Day weekend giveaway on our Instagram page. So if you're not already following us on Instagram, go to Instagram, follow us there, and you'll see a post on how to win a nice hardback copy of Another Side of Paradise.
Yay! All right. Well, everyone, have a good weekend, and disinfect for all parents of toddlers so you don't suffer.
Yes, disinfect after this episode, because who knows if hand, mouth, and foot disease through the airways, because Michelle is now patient 1 since Landon was patient 0, because as we determined, toddlers suck.
All right. Well, have a good night, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.